Hey everybody, welcome to Vacuum Wars. Today I wanted to talk about Eufy robot vacuums. Eufy has been one of the best-selling, highest-rated brands of robot vacuums for years in the budget category, and they've recently released a more premium smart navigation robot, the L70. After this last week, I can now say I have personally tested 4 of Eufy's more popular models, and I wanted to go over all the things I found in the various tests, as well as the differences in the specs and features in order to answer number 1, which of Eufy's budget models is the best, and number 2, if the premium Eufy L70 is worth the extra money, and if so, how it stacks up against similar smart navigation robot vacuums. So, links in the description, and let's get started. The models I'll be looking at are the 11S, the 11S Max, the 15C Max, the 30C, the 30C Max, and the L70. The main thing to know is that Eufy's 11 through 30 series are all standard budget robot vacuums that navigate more or less randomly by bouncing around the room, where the L70 is a smart robot vacuum which uses a top-mounted spinning laser called LiDAR to create a map of your house, which allows it to clean in a very systematic row-by-row way. Generally speaking, I found that random navigation robots are really similar to smart navigation robots, at least in terms of single room coverage. They both get the job done and in a very similar amount of time, but smart robots are better with systematic cleaning of the entire house and doing it the same way every time, where a random robot might get the whole house vacuumed in one charge and it might not. There are also a ton of app features like no-go lines and other map-related things that smart robots can do that random robots can't, but we'll get into that later. At first though, I'll concentrate just on Eufy's budget lineup since I think many people just want to know which of these cheaper ones is the best and why. One thing I noticed this week was how similar the Eufy 11 through 30 series are. They look very similar, they all use the same basic components like the same brushes, they're the same height, they have the same dustbin size, the same battery, the same stated battery life on low power, they all have 2 side brushes, they have the same climbing height and warranty period. As far as I can tell, there are 3 main differences: the price, the power level, and the connectivity. As far as connectivity, for example, the 11 series, the Eufy 11S and the 11S Max, do not have Wi-Fi connectivity where all the others do, meaning that the 11 series is not able to be controlled by an app and do not have related features like the ability to be controlled by Amazon Alexa or Google Assistant. Keep in mind that all of these except for the L70 come with a physical remote control, which I prefer to use instead of the app anyway, but because the 11S doesn't have an app, its remote has an additional feature that you have to use if you want to schedule the robot to run at certain times, which you can do on the app with all the others. The more important difference in my opinion is power. Eufy has its own suction numbers that it publishes, and they look like this. You can see the max versions are more powerful than the non-max versions, and you can see that the suction numbers in general go up from the 11 series to the L70. One interesting thing I noticed while putting this list together is that the max versions didn't have high efficiency filters, and the non-max versions did. I thought it was interesting that they would put the less good filter on the better model, but then I realized that's probably where a lot of the additional power is coming from. High efficiency filters restrict airflow more and give it less power. So my guess is they were able to give the max versions more power simply by changing out the high efficiency filter for a standard one. I also tested their suction and airflow, and I did notice a slight increase in power from the least to the most expensive models, but it wasn't all that significant. In general, I would say that these numbers are pretty good for budget robot vacuums, and it's one of the reasons that Eufy does well against its competition in the budget category. With the carpet deep clean test, where I embed sand into medium pile carpet and weigh the bends before and after a 5-minute run, it wasn't a surprise to see the L70 with the best score, with the 30C doing the best of the budget robots. I should mention here that all of these budget robots have something that Eufy calls the Boost IQ mode, which means that in addition to having a low and high power mode, there is a Boost IQ mode, where the robot runs in low power until it senses carpet, at which point it boosts the power for a better clean, with the idea being to save battery life. As I mentioned, all the budget Eufys have the same battery and roughly the same stated battery life numbers at 100 minutes on low, 50 on Boost IQ, and 40 on max power. Decent for budget numbers, but really I think the battery life in combination with the random navigation means that these are meant for smaller spaces if you intend for it to clean the entire floor plan every time. Because of the similarity of these vacuums in terms of their hardware, it wasn't surprising to see that they were all very similar in terms of their ability to pick stuff up off of hard floor floors and carpet. They were all able to pick up everything from fine to extra large debris with no problems. The L70 was certainly better than all of the budget models here, but it wasn't by much. The extra power and larger brush did give it a slight advantage, but overall I thought they all did very well. As far as I could tell, there was no major difference with the budget models in terms of navigation and algorithm. They all had good coverage and were fairly smart. Like most random robots though, you need to kind of robot-proof the house before you begin the run. By moving or blocking off cords or other items it's likely to get stuck on. And they are prone to finding ways to get stuck. Like in the test this week, one of them moved a rug slightly and then began sensing the bunched up part of the rug as if it was a wall with its IR sensors, and likely would have gotten stuck there if I hadn't moved it. Also, I forgot to pick up some cords and it got stuck there too. Other than that though, they typically clean the floor in my home in one try and return to their base without getting stuck. But it's all about house preparation with budget robots. If you do it, you'll be happy. If you don't, you won't. So, before I move on to the premium L70, let me answer the question, which of these budget models makes the most sense in my opinion? Based on the current prices, I would say the Eufy 30C is the clear winner here. It had the most power in my tests, it had the best score on the deep clean test as well, it has Wi-Fi connectivity and all that comes with that, but the price is really the thing that seals the deal. Eufy often has it on sale for the same price as the 11 and 15 series too, which to me makes it a no-brainer. The 30C Max has all the same qualities, but with a standard filter and thus higher power specs, so to me, either the 30C or the 30C Max would work, depending on the current sale price. Basically, I think the 30 series is in the sweet spot of price and features, and I would guess it's a strong contender for the best budget robot in our upcoming 2021 competition. Moving on to the Eufy L70 to see if it's worth the extra money for your situation and to see how it compares to similar robots. To me, one of the big differences with smart navigation mapping robots like the L70 is the ability to use advanced app features like virtual walls, where you draw barriers on the map to keep the robot from going where you don't want it to go, which I think is a game changer, and it eliminates most of the babysitting and preparation you have to do with budget robots. One big difference is that the Eufy L70 is also a mop, and it's a pretty good one. It has a slightly different system than others I've seen, where the water tank is integrated into the dustbin and you attach a plate with a washable pad to the bottom of the robot, which tells the robot to go into mopping mode. In the test, I used dried on coffee, grape juice, and V8 juice, and it was better than the last robot I tested, which was quite a bit more expensive. Basically, the L70 is as good or better than any combo mopping robot I've seen. The L70, when compared to the Roborock S5 Max, matches almost exactly in terms of specs and performance, but it does so at a slightly cheaper price, which has been Eufy's MO in the past. Quality robots at a cheaper price, and it's possible that just like they did with the budget category, Eufy could end up dominating the mid-level combo mop category as well with this L70, but time will tell. I certainly couldn't find anything major to complain about with the L70 this week, but I'll take a more in-depth look at it soon. Links in the description to everything I mentioned, and be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars before you leave. Thanks for watching.